The Complete Guide to Inner Stillness. Introduction. The Science of the Soul. When most people hear the word meditation, they picture someone sitting quietly, eyes closed, perhaps breathing deeply. But for Paramahansa Yogananda, meditation was not simply a relaxation technique. It was the real science of the soul, a direct, practical method to know God, to experience the infinite within your own consciousness. Yogananda didn't teach meditation as a vague art form. He taught it as a precise spiritual technology, a science with clearly defined laws, just as real and measurable as the laws of electricity or magnetism. He called it the most effective means of uniting the soul with spirit. To understand how Yogananda taught meditation, we first have to understand his ultimate goal for it, self-realization. This is not an abstract concept. It's the moment when you directly experience your identity as more than a body, more than a mind, more than emotions. When you know, without a doubt, that you are one with the infinite consciousness that permeates the universe. Everything Yogananda taught about meditation was designed to lead a person to this realization. Chapter 1. The Purpose of Meditation. When Yogananda spoke about meditation, he always brought the discussion back to one central idea. Meditation is not about acquiring something you don't already have. It's about realizing what you already are. He would often explain that the soul, at its core, is perfect, whole, and one with God. The trouble is not that this connection is missing, but that our awareness of it is clouded by restlessness, constant thought, and the pull of the senses. Imagine the sun on a clear day. Its light is steady, unwavering, full. Now imagine that same sun hidden behind layers of clouds. The sun hasn't gone anywhere, but from where you stand it appears absent. In the same way, divine consciousness is always shining within you, but the clouds of distraction obscure it from your perception. Yogananda taught that the primary purpose of meditation is to clear away these inner clouds, to calm the waves of thought, dissolve the storms of emotion, and make the inner sky clear enough for the light of spirit to shine through. This is why he often compared the mind to a lake. When the surface of the water is rippling or storm-tossed, you can't see into its depths. But when it becomes perfectly still, it mirrors the sky above and reveals what lies beneath. Meditation is the process of stilling the mental waters until they become a flawless mirror for divine reality. Some people approach meditation thinking it's simply a tool for stress relief or for calming the nerves. And while Yogananda acknowledged these as natural benefits, he urged students to go deeper. True meditation, he said, was the science of God contact. It is the royal road to self-realization, the direct experience of the soul's unity with the infinite. This is not a matter of belief, but of perception. He often said, in meditation you do not believe in God, you know God. In Yogananda's vision, the purpose of meditation was twofold. First, to bring peace, clarity, and joy to the individual, and second, to radiate that peace and joy into the world. He believed that even a single person deeply established in meditation becomes a quiet yet powerful force for harmony, influencing the collective consciousness in unseen ways. The journey begins with taming the restlessness of the mind. Just as a beam of sunlight passing through a magnifying glass can ignite fire, so too can a focused mind pierce the illusion of separation and awaken to the truth of oneness. Every method he taught, from simple breath awareness to advanced Kriya Yoga, was aimed at cultivating that steady focus, drawing energy away from the outer senses and redirecting it inward to the divine center within. In this way, meditation becomes more than a daily practice. It becomes a way of life, a conscious, moment-by-moment choice to live from the still center of your being, rather than from the scattered surface of restless thought. Chapter 2. Preparing the Body and Mind. Yogananda often said that meditation begins long before you close your eyes. The body is tense, the breath shallow, or the mind scattered. Your meditation will be like trying to plant seeds in rocky soil. The ground simply isn't ready. The preparation you do in the minutes before you meditate is like tilling that soil, clearing the stones and making it fertile for the seeds of inner stillness. He taught that the first step is to choose your environment wisely. Meditation is best practiced in a place where the mind feels at peace. A quiet corner, a dedicated meditation room, or even just a chair by a window where you will not be disturbed. Yogananda encouraged his students to use the same spot every day, allowing the subtle vibrations of past meditations to accumulate there. Over time, you will find that simply sitting in that space will help the mind settle faster. If possible, he advised facing east, the direction from which the sun rises, symbolizing the awakening of the soul. Next is posture. The body should be upright, alert, and yet completely relaxed. The spine is the central pathway for the life force, the pranic current that flows through the chakras, and so it must be held straight, like the trunk of a young tree. If you sit slouched or leaning to one side, energy will be dispersed and the mind will become dull. Yogananda recommended sitting on a firm chair with feet flat on the floor, hands resting lightly at the junction of thighs and abdomen, palms upward. If you prefer the floor, sit cross-legged on a cushion, ensuring the knees are lower than the hips for comfort. Once seated, relaxation is the next step. Tension in the body creates tension in the mind, and the two feed each other. To break this cycle, Yogananda taught his students a simple but powerful method, the tense and relax exercise. Inhale deeply, and as you do, gently tense the whole body, vibrating it with willpower. Then exhale completely, releasing all tension like a sigh of relief. Repeat this 2 or 3 times. As you do, feel the body becoming light, almost weightless. This stage is not just physical, it's mental as well. Before diving into technique, take a moment to set your intention. Inwardly affirm, I am calm, I am at peace, I am ready to enter the temple of silence within. Yogananda often reminded students that meditation is not about wrestling the mind into stillness. It's about inviting the mind to rest, as a child naturally rests in the presence of love. By preparing in this way, environment, posture, relaxation and intention, you create the conditions where meditation can flourish. The body becomes still, the breath begins to slow, and the mind starts to turn inward. You're no longer trying to swim against the current of restlessness. You're positioning yourself in the quiet waters, where the journey inward can truly begin. Chapter 3. The Art of Concentration. Yogananda taught that concentration is the doorway to meditation. Without it, the mind will wander endlessly, chasing after thoughts, sensations, and memories. With it, the mind becomes like a clear lens, able to focus the light of awareness into a single point, piercing through the veils of distraction and illusion. He often compared concentration to training a wild horse. At first, the mind wants to run in every direction. One moment thinking about the past, the next worrying about the future, then suddenly remembering a song, a conversation, or something to do later. Trying to meditate without first taming this restless energy is like trying to fill a sieve with water. The peace you gather leaks away instantly. The first step is to choose one object of attention and stay with it, no matter what. Yogananda warned against jumping from one technique to another in search of instant results. The mind, he said, is like a muscle. It grows strong through steady, repeated effort. That effort in meditation means gently but firmly bringing the mind back whenever it strays. For most beginners, Yogananda recommended concentrating on something constant and calming, the breath. The breath is always with you, moving in and out in a steady rhythm. It is the bridge between the body and mind. When you follow the breath, you naturally slow your thoughts. When you slow your breath, you calm your mind. One of his simplest yet most powerful tools for building concentration is the Hong-Sau technique. The Sanskrit words Hong and Sau translate roughly as I am He, a silent affirmation of unity with the divine. The method is straightforward, yet its effect is profound. You begin by sitting quietly, eyes closed, gaze gently lifted toward the point between the eyebrows, the spiritual eye. Without forcing the breath, you simply observe it. As you inhale, you silently think the word Hong. As you exhale, you silently think Sau. You do not repeat the words aloud. They are silent mental vibration, synchronized with the flow of the breath. At first your mind will wander. You may remember something you need to do, hear a sound outside, or get lost in a chain of thoughts. This is natural. The key is not to fight these distractions or scold yourself for having them. Instead, Yogananda said, treat the mind as you would a child, patiently, with love, but with firm guidance. Each time you notice you've wandered, you bring your attention gently back to the breath and the mantra. Over time, something remarkable happens. The breath becomes calmer, and you feel a supple joy in the simple act of being present. This is the beginning of interiorization, the turning of awareness from the outer world toward the inner. Concentration for Yogananda was not about gritting your teeth in effort. It was about loving the act of focusing, delighting in the stillness that comes when the mind rests on one thing. In that stillness, the door to meditation begins to open. Chapter 4. Interiorization and the Spiritual Eye. For Yogananda, interiorization marked the turning point in meditation, the shift from outer awareness to the inner world of spirit. If concentration is the act of holding the mind steady, interiorization is the gentle drawing in of that steadiness toward the soul's center. In daily life, our attention is almost always flowing outward through the five senses. We see, hear, smell, taste, and touch the world around us, and our minds race to interpret and respond to these impressions. Yogananda explained that this constant outward flow is like a river running toward the sea. All of our life force is spent on outer activities, leaving little energy for higher states of awareness. Interiorization is the art of reversing that flow. Instead of the current of attention moving outward, it begins to move inward and upward toward the spiritual centers in the spine and brain. This shift is subtle but powerful, and it is often accompanied by a sense of the body growing light, as if it's beginning to fade from awareness. One of the key aids in this process, Yogananda taught, is the spiritual eye, the luminous inner vision that appears when awareness is uplifted and concentrated at the point between the eyebrows. This center, known in yoga as the Ajna chakra, is the seat of will, intuition, and higher perception. In deep meditation, it may appear as a golden halo surrounding a deep blue field with a white star in the center. Yogananda described the spiritual eye not as something imaginary, but as a real, perceivable gateway to higher realms of consciousness. He told his students that this was the doorway to Christ consciousness, the direct channel through which the soul ascends into the inner worlds. To practice, you simply keep the gaze gently lifted toward this point throughout your meditation. The eyes should remain closed, but the upward focus acts as a magnet for the mind and life force, drawing them away from the senses. If you see light there, no matter how faint, rest your attention upon it with love and interest, as though gazing at the face of a beloved friend. If you see nothing yet, simply maintain the uplifted gaze. Yogananda reassured students that the light will come in time, often when least expected. As interiorization deepens, external sounds fade into the background. The body feels distant or even disappears from awareness, and the mind becomes anchored in a tranquil stillness. At this stage, the meditator may begin to hear the first whispers of the inner sounds, the cosmic hum of Om, or feel waves of peace and joy rising from within. Yogananda wanted to encourage students not to force these experiences, but to receive them naturally. The spiritual eye is not opened by willpower alone. It blossoms like a flower in the quiet warmth of steady loving attention. Once that light becomes familiar, it serves as your compass on the journey inward, guiding you ever deeper into the boundless presence of spirit. Chapter 5. The Science of Breath and Energy. Yogananda often said, the mind and the breath are twins. Wherever one goes, the other follows. If the breath is restless, the mind will be restless. If the breath is calm, the mind will be calm. And when the breath is completely stilled, the mind dissolves into the deep silence of spirit. This is more than a poetic statement. It's a precise law of inner life. In our normal waking state, we're scarcely aware of our breathing. It rises and falls according to our emotions. Quick and shallow when we're anxious, deep and slow when we're relaxed. Yogananda explained that this isn't just a mechanical response. The rhythm of the breath actually governs the rhythm of thought itself. Every inhalation and exhalation stirs the currents of energy in the body, and those currents in turn agitate or calm the mind. Because of this, one of the fastest ways to prepare the mind for deep meditation is to work with the breath. When you slow the breath consciously, you begin to still the mental waves. When you still the breath entirely, even for a few seconds, you experience a state of interior clarity that Yogananda called superconsciousness, a pure, undisturbed awareness that exists beyond thought. Central to Yogananda's teachings was the understanding that breath is only the outer expression of a deeper force, prana, or life energy. This energy flows through supple channels in the spine and brain, animating every cell of the body. In ordinary life, most of this energy is pushed outward through the senses, feeding our constant interaction with the world. The science of meditation involves reversing that flow, drawing the life force back into the spine and upward toward the brain, where it can awaken higher states of consciousness. He often used the image of an electric fan to describe this process. When the fan is plugged in, the blades whirl continuously. Unplug it and the blades slow down and eventually stop. In the same way, our restless thoughts are like the spinning blades of the mind. The plug is our identification with breath and body. When we withdraw the life force from the breath, effectively unplugging the mind, the thoughts slow, then stop, revealing the stillness of the soul. The most advanced method Yogananda taught for this was Kriya Yoga, a sacred technique for consciously circulating life energy up and down the spine in harmony with the breath. He called it the airplane route to God because it accelerates spiritual growth far beyond what is possible through ordinary effort. While the details of Kriya are reserved for initiated students, its essence lies in purifying the spine's supple channels so the soul can rise effortlessly to higher awareness. Even without Kriya, the principle holds. By becoming aware of the breath, slowing it, and gently guiding the life force inward, we can experience profound peace and expanded consciousness. Breath, energy, and mind are inseparable. Master one and you begin to master them all. Chapter 6. Devotion, the heart of meditation. Yogananda often reminded his students that meditation without devotion is like a body without life. Techniques alone, however precise or powerful, are not enough to bring the soul into union with the divine. The technique calms the mind, but it is love that unites the soul with its source. He would say, love God more than you love your breath. To Yogananda, meditation was not a cold mechanical exercise. It was an intimate meeting with the beloved, a chance to turn all the soul's yearning, joy, and trust toward the infinite. Without that warmth of feeling, meditation could easily become an intellectual drill, orderly, perhaps, but lacking the deep magnetism that draws God's presence near. In his own practice, Yogananda approached God in many ways. As father, as mother, as friend, and as the all-encompassing light. He encouraged his students to find the form of divine relationship that touched their hearts most deeply. If you love God as mother, pour out your heart to her as you would to your own mother, he would say. If you love God as a friend, speak to him with openness and familiarity. The form doesn't matter, the sincerity does. One of the simplest and most direct ways to awaken devotion, he taught, is to talk to God inwardly during meditation. Begin with the formal techniques to calm the body and focus the mind. Hong-Sau, breath, awareness, or the Om technique. And then, when the mind is steady, speak to God in the language of your heart. Tell him your hopes, your fears, your gratitude. Confess your mistakes without shame. Knowing you are already loved, then pause and listen. In that listening, you may feel a wave of peace, a supple joy, or an intuitive answer to your unspoken question. Yogananda also used devotional chanting as a way to awaken the heart before meditation. He composed many chants designed to quiet restless thoughts and kindle a flame of love in the soul. Chanting, he said, is half the battle. The rhythm and melody help anchor the mind, while the sacred words draw the attention inward, preparing you for the stillness to come. Devotion is not something to force. If your heart feels dry, Yogananda suggested, pray for love itself. Lord, teach me to love you, reveal your presence to me. This openness creates a space for divine feeling to flow naturally without strain. When devotion and technique meet, something extraordinary happens. The mind is quieted by method. The heart is opened by love. And in that union, the soul begins to feel God's presence tangibly. Meditation becomes less about trying and more about receiving. Yogananda called this receptive state bhakti, the yoga of love, and said it was one of the most direct paths to union with spirit. In the end, devotion is what transforms meditation from a discipline into a living relationship, not with an abstract idea of God, but with a presence so real, so near, that it feels like coming home to your truest self. Chapter 7. The Om Technique. Among all the meditation practices, Yogananda taught the Om technique holds a special place. He called it the way to unite your consciousness with the cosmic vibration of spirit. In his view, Om, or Aum, is not merely a sacred syllable from ancient scripture. It is the actual living sound of creation itself, the hum of the divine motor that sustains the entire universe. From the depths of his own meditative experiences, Yogananda affirmed that Om is the first manifestation of God in the material world. In the Bible, this is described as, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." In the yogic tradition, that word is Om, the primal vibration from which all matter, energy, and consciousness emerge. The purpose of the Om technique is to attune the individual soul to this vibration. When we are absorbed in the inner sound of Om, we are no longer bound to the restless currents of the body and mind. Instead, our awareness rides the current of that vibration back to its source, into the still, formless spirit beyond creation. Yogananda taught that the Om vibration can be heard inwardly by anyone who is willing to still the body, calm the breath, and turn the attention to the inner ear. At first, the sound may resemble a low hum, the roar of the ocean, or the distant ringing of bells. Over time, it becomes more refined, more expansive, until it seems to fill the whole field of awareness. The practice begins after you have already quieted the mind with preliminary techniques such as Hong-Sau, sitting upright, eyes closed, and gaze uplifted to the spiritual eye. You shift your attention from the breath to the act of listening within. The ears are not strained. This is not a sound you hear physically, but a vibration you perceive with your whole consciousness. Yogananda advised focusing first on the right ear, as this is often where the sound is most easily heard. Let the mind rest there, not forcing, but waiting with deep interest, as though listening for the faintest whisper in a quiet forest. As soon as you sense even a trace of the inner sound, fix your attention upon it, letting it draw you deeper inward. Over time, the Om vibration becomes a kind of spiritual elevator. Following it upward, your awareness naturally rises through the spine and brain, moving towards subtler realms of consciousness. In deep absorption, the sense of the physical body fades away, and you feel yourself floating in a vast ocean of sound and light. Yogananda stressed that the Om technique is not just an experience to enjoy, it is a pathway to liberation. By merging your consciousness with Om, you dissolve the barriers of ego and personality, entering the universal vibration from which all souls spring. He summed it up simply: to hear Om is to hear God's voice in creation. To merge in Om is to enter God's infinite silence beyond creation. Chapter 8. Going Beyond Technique. Yogananda was a master of teaching practical methods. But he never let his students forget that techniques are only tools, stepping stones leading to a far greater reality. He would often say, "Techniques are like a ladder. You climb it to reach the roof. But once you are there, you do not need to carry the ladder around." In the beginning, techniques are essential. They help calm the restless waves of the mind, channel scattered energy inward, and give us something tangible to focus on. But as you advance in meditation, Yogananda explained, there comes a point when you must let go of the method and simply be resting in the awareness that has been awakened. This shift is subtle, but it marks the entrance into true meditation. While practicing a technique, you are still doing something, focusing on the breath, repeating a mantra, listening for Om. Beyond technique, there is no doing, there is only being, pure, effortless awareness. without the need to control, direct, or seek anything. He likened it to learning to ride a bicycle. At first, you think about every movement, balancing, steering, pedaling. Then suddenly, the coordination becomes natural. You're no longer thinking about riding, you're simply riding. In deep meditation, it's the same. Once concentration and devotion are firmly established, they carry you effortlessly into stillness. Yogananda encouraged students not to be in a hurry to abandon technique, but also not to cling to it out of habit. If you find yourself in a moment where the mind is utterly still, the heart overflowing with peace or joy, stay there. Don't disturb the state by going back to the method. In his words, when the beloved comes, stop knocking and open the door. Beyond technique lies samadhi, the highest state of meditation where the soul merges with spirit. In this state, the meditator is no longer aware of meditating. There is no distinction between the one who is meditating, the act of meditation, and the object of meditation. All have merged into one infinite ocean of consciousness. Time disappears, space disappears. The small I is dissolved into the vast I am. Yogananda described several levels of samadhi, from the blissful absorption in divine light and sound to the complete transcendence of creation itself. But he was clear. These states are not achieved through sheer willpower alone. They are gifts of grace, received when the heart's love for God is deep and steady, and when the mind is free from restless demands. Even when not in the highest states, going beyond technique means carrying the essence of meditation into your whole life. It is the ability to pause inwardly, even in the midst of activity, and rest in the quiet center of your being. In this way, every breath, every thought, and every action becomes part of your meditation. For Yogananda, this was the ultimate goal, not merely to practice meditation for 30 minutes a day, but to live in meditation, to abide in the awareness of spirit at all times, until nothing can shake the inner peace that is your true nature. Chapter 9. Bringing meditation into daily life. Yogananda often reminded his students that meditation is not meant to be confined to the meditation chair. Its purpose is to transform the whole of life. Sitting in silence each day is essential, but the true test of meditation is how it shapes your thoughts, words, and actions when you return to the flow of daily activities. He taught that the peace and joy experienced in meditation should become the background music of your life, always playing softly within, no matter what is happening outside. Just as a perfume clings to the clothes of the one who wears it, the fragrance of meditation should linger on your consciousness, subtly influencing everything you do. To carry meditation into the day, Yogananda encouraged the practice of continuous God remembrance. This means keeping a part of your attention turned toward spirit in all situations. It doesn't require outward withdrawal from the world. Rather, it's an inward orientation. While you work, speak, eat, or walk, a quiet part of you is always aware of the divine presence. One of the simplest ways to maintain this connection is through mental repetition of a prayer or affirmation. It could be a phrase like, I am thine, Lord, be thou mine, or a silent repetition of God's name in the form that inspires you most. This acts like a spiritual thread, keeping your mind tied to the source even while engaged in activity. Another method Yogananda recommended was pausing briefly throughout the day for mini meditations. These can be as short as a few seconds, taking a deep, conscious breath, lifting the gaze slightly toward the spiritual eye, and inwardly offering a thought of love or gratitude to God. Done often, these little pauses refresh your mind and prevent you from being swept away by the momentum of busyness. He also spoke of seeing God in others as a way of staying anchored in divine consciousness. Whether you are dealing with a friend, a stranger, or even someone difficult, silently remind yourself, this is another form of the divine. This practice turns daily interactions into opportunities for spiritual growth and keeps your heart open and compassionate. Importantly, Yogananda warned that the energy and joy gained in meditation can quickly dissipate if you allow yourself to be drawn into negativity, gossip, anger, criticism, or unnecessary worry. Protect your inner state as you would guard a precious flame from the wind. Surround yourself, when possible, with uplifting company, inspiring books, and environments that reinforce your spiritual focus. Over time, as you integrate these habits, you begin to experience life itself as a meditation. The distinction between meditation time and daily life begins to dissolve, whether sitting in stillness or walking down a busy street. You feel the same inner presence, the same unshakable calm. For Yogananda, this was the hallmark of a true meditator, someone who not only touches God in the silence of meditation, but walks with God in every moment, carrying the light of spirit into the world as a living blessing. Chapter 10. Common Obstacles and His Solutions. Yogananda understood that meditation is both an art and a discipline, and that along the way every seeker will face challenges. He often reassured his students that obstacles are not signs of failure. They are part of the training, opportunities to strengthen willpower, deepen devotion, and refine technique. In his words, "Do not let your mind tell you that you cannot meditate. The soul already knows how, you are only remembering." One of the most common obstacles he addressed was restlessness. This can take many forms: an inability to sit still, constant fidgeting, or a mind that races from one thought to the next. Yogananda explained that restlessness is often the result of an overactive body and scattered life force. His prescription was twofold. First, prepare the body with the tense and relaxed exercise to discharge physical tension. Second, practice concentration techniques like Hong-Sau to gently draw the attention inward. Even 5 minutes of focused breath observation can begin to dissolve the grip of restlessness. Another frequent challenge is drowsiness. Many beginners find that the moment they sit to meditate, their body and mind slip towards sleep. Yogananda taught that this is usually due to a lack of alertness in posture or a low level of prana in the system. His advice was to meditate with the spine absolutely straight, the chest lifted, and the gaze gently elevated to the spiritual eye. If drowsiness persists, open the eyes slightly or practice a few moments of deep, rhythmic breathing to awaken the mind. A subtler obstacle is the feeling of lack of progress. After weeks or months of practice, some students become discouraged, thinking, "I'm not having deep experiences, maybe I'm not cut out for meditation." Yogananda would respond firmly, "Every sincere effort you make is stored in your soul's treasury. Even if outer experiences seem unchanged, the practice is silently transforming you. Patience and persistence are the key." He often compared spiritual progress to the steady growth of a tree. You may not see it growing day to day, but with consistent care, it will eventually bear fruit. Mental wandering is perhaps the most universal challenge. Thoughts of work, relationships, plans, or memories arise and pull attention away from the practice. Yogananda's solution was not to fight the thoughts, but to redirect the mind gently each time it strays. He likened it to training a puppy. If it runs off, you don't scold it harshly. You simply bring it back to its spot again and again with patience and love. He also warned against over-effort. Some students eager for results meditate with tense willpower, trying to force spiritual experiences. This only creates more restlessness. His advice: apply steady effort, but relax into it. Meditation should feel like a joyful absorption, not a grim task. Above all, Yogananda stressed the importance of devotion and joy as the antidotes to all obstacles. When your heart is full of love for God, the desire to meditate becomes natural, and distractions lose their power. Persistence, he said, is the magic key. Even clouds cannot hide the sun forever. Meditation was for Yogananda never just a technique to be learned and mastered. It was a way of living, a thread that connected every thought, every breath, every moment back to its source. He showed that it could be approached with discipline, yes, but also with joy. That it could be at once a science of the soul and the most personal conversation with the infinite. The beauty of his approach was that it made the highest spiritual truths practical, something you could carry into the most ordinary moments of your day. Whether you begin with a few quiet minutes of Hong-Sau, whether you lift your eyes to the spiritual eye in the stillness before sleep, or whether you find yourself pausing to take a conscious breath in the middle of a busy afternoon, the principles are the same. Still the restlessness. Gather your energy inward and let the presence that is always there reveal itself. In the end, meditation is not about escaping the world, but about seeing it from a higher place, and from that place moving through it with more peace, more clarity, and more compassion. That is the legacy Yogananda left for anyone willing to sit down, close the eyes, and turn inward.
The chance to know that the joy and peace we seek have been within us all along.